WarsawJS.
Yeah, hello everyone. So my name is Bartek, and at the very beginning, I really have to say this. So the information provided in this talk is for general information purposes only and should not be considered as legal advice. The content presented is based on my understanding and interpretation of the subject matter at the time of the talk. Laws and regulations can vary by jurisdiction and may change over time. It is recommended that you consult with a qualified legal professional regarding your specific situation or legal concerns. The speaker and organizers of this talk shall not be held responsible for any reliance or action taken based on the information provided. All right, so now I can move to myself. So as I said, I'm Bartek. I'm a product engineer at Craft. I have been part of this community for quite some time, since 2016. I've been programming for over 10 years, mostly in JS, some PHP along the way, but I stuck to JavaScript and TypeScript. I do love game jams, and we've got like our small game development studio, and also I really like open source. I learned most of the things that I know from open resources and for free from the internet, so I really like giving back to the community. So I've got like over 100 different public repos that I wanted to share with people. And with sharing code, there are usually some legal things connected with that. So I went through a lot of different licenses to see what can they give me and what they can give to the community. So basically, we'll talk a little bit about licenses today. I really hope that like license-based talk after pizza won't bore you, but I'll try to keep it entertaining. So I will start with some history around open source and how it came to be. So it all started in 1950s and 60s, where there wasn't really closed source code. Most of the code that was created by academic places, so universities and other schools. So basically everybody shared everything with them. The whole code was bundled with hardware that was delivered to different places. So this is a code for Wasman, which is a little bit later. But that's a code attached to Apple I manual written by Steve Wozniak. And there's really nice video in references like talking about how it works. So really give it a watch after that. So this is how it looked. It was just written down in the manual. And if you wanted to use it, basically you had to type it in. And then came AT&T and Unix. So in early 70s, AT&T, a like telephone-based company, like they did telephones, they were having basically a monopoly on all of those things in the US, and they were distributing a software called Unix, which was running all of those computers that were running the telephone system. And initially, they also were sharing all of the source code, so people could play around with it, change it a little bit, fix any bugs. But then the software grew and grew. Company was earning more and more money, so they didn't really want to give all that out. So they said, all right, we're going to stop now, and you have to pay us money. The problem was that there were already a lot of different companies relying on Unix. So tough luck, you had to pay. And this was general trend that more and more companies started requiring paying money for your software. There were still a lot of people called hackers back then, in a little bit different meaning that we usually think about it now. Those are people that like playing around with technology. So you would have usually those kinds of magazines where you would have a lot of different code typed in, you could take it, write it into your computer, and see if the game works. It were usually games, but yeah, it's easily, you can miss a lot of things writing here. So yeah, so that was a scene of open source. So basically, most of the things built, like bigger things, were closed source, and you had the smaller, nicer games. And then Richard Stallman came in. So this is a pretty smart guy, I think. Like he did a few things. So he created Free Software Foundation, which sounds nice. Then he also created GNU compiler collection, GNU Emacs. I don't know if anybody heard about it. And then basically he also created a whole GNU project, which then, with a little bit of help with the other guy called Linus Torvalds, merged into GNU Linux. So yeah, it was something. And when he started with GNU, so GNU was a project where he just took Unix and implemented it from scratch for it to be free. And yeah, he didn't use words open source. He used words free or libre, so basically free to anyone to see. And he created a whole manifesto saying what is GNU and how does he want to have it run. And it was in 1985 where he created the manifesto. And in the manifesto, he created a new term called copyleft. So you may know the word copyright. So basic copyright says that if you want to copy or sell any work, you have to have a author's permission to do that. And copyleft basically says that if you want to distribute it or modify it, as long as it's the same thing, as long as it is the same license that was initially for the software, then you can do it. And that was the GNU license that he pioneered. And from then, there were a lot of different smaller projects, different other licenses created. And I wanted to showcase a few of them. I'll try to go pretty quickly through. Oh, yeah. What license should you use? It depends. It depends on what you want to do with your software. If you want to have it run anywhere, and if you just want to have people play around with it, or if you don't want anybody to really earn too much money from it. So first of all, do you even need a license? So by default, all of your work will be an exclusive copyright. So if anybody wants to use your code or your library, they would have to ask for your permission. And probably if you don't have the permission, you could face some takedowns or litigation. So you don't really want to use it. And if you want to continue the free software movement and have everybody use everything, then yeah, that's not the thing that you really want to worry about. So we've got a few different tiers of licenses. So I'll start with the GNU one, which is the copyleft license. So that's the license. It's really long, so it didn't even fit on the screen. And it has a few things inside of it. So you can use all of the code from GNU projects in commercial projects. You can distribute it, you can modify it. You are given patent use. So if there was any patent used in the code, you are given a right to use that patent. And yeah, you can use it for private use as well. One thing is that you have to release the code on the same license. So if you, or same license or compatible license. Basically any GNU project makes it any other projects based on that be also GNU. You have to show the whole source code of it. You have to keep the copyright notice and state any changes that you made. And also creators of the software say that, okay, We don't give any warranty. We don't give any liability. If anything happens, that's on you. And then you've got also GNU GPL thing, which the only difference is that if it's a library that you use, so if the software gives some interfaces to interact with the whole code, and you use it, you don't have to release it under the same license. And there's also AGPL, which says that the network use is distribution. So if you've got a code running in the server and somebody interacts with it, then it is already distribution, and you have to give the source code, license it in the same way. Then it's got like, I did a query on GitHub, and it had like 2.7 million projects using it. So it's a bit, maybe not that much, considering how many projects are on GitHub, but also there's lots and lots of projects without license, my projects including. Then there's Mozilla public license. It's also super long. And it has two differences. So one is you have to release it on the same license if the thing, like if you change a file in a project, then you have to release it on the same license and show the source code. But if the original code is a part of the project, then you can do whatever you want. And also, Mozilla public license doesn't give any trademark use rights. So if you use, I don't know, like Google's project, you cannot use Google in your product, like the name Google TM probably. A little bit less. So I would stick with GPL if you want to have those things. Like it's the most popular one, and like it's really long. Like it has been here from 1985, so a few years. There's Apache license, also quite long, but it's a bit shorter, but you cannot really see it. And one thing is that you have to state changes. You have to keep the copyright notice if you do any changes to the product or if you base your product on it. But you can use any license you want, so you don't have to stick to GPL. For example, 2.3 million, so more or less the same as GNU. There's also Creative Commons. So I don't know how many of you heard about Creative Commons. Okay, a lot of people actually. So you may have seen this badge on a website, and you may have also read that on Wikipedia, because all of the contents on Wikipedia are released under Creative Commons. But what Creative Commons itself says that you shouldn't use it for software, because first of all, it's not really compatible with any other software licenses. So if your company says that, okay, it has to be, I don't know, at least GPL, then you may face some issues. Also, it doesn't cover all of the cases for distributions of the software. So for example, we had a case of network distribution. So basically any sources state that you shouldn't really use Creative Commons for your code. So I would stick with that. Then there's MIT license, which is super, super popular in JS world. Basically, any NPM package that you face is MIT. It's a bit shorter. It fit into one slide. And it basically says that the only thing you have to do is keep the license and copyright notice for the initial code. So if you use your NPM package, you can even sometimes inspect the bundle of the whole web app, and you can see sometimes like there's main.license.js, and it's like a lot of comments with just licenses. So it still says that, hey, somebody written it, and yeah, keep that in mind. Yeah, 6.3, like 3 times the GNU, I think. Then there's BSD licenses, which are super similar to MIT. There are like, I think 4 or 5 different versions of it, which is quite wild to think about it. So basically they created like a 5 version, and then they started removing point by point because they decided that, well, it's not really that important. Basically, if you use the 2, so you've got 3 points of the whole license. If you use the 2 points version, it's basically MIT, but written differently. And if you use the 3rd one, it also says that you cannot use creators' names in any advertisement of the project. So I don't know, if you use library by Tim Berners-Lee, you cannot say that, hey, some of our code is has been written by him. And yeah, it's like much smaller than MIT. So I would personally stick with MIT if you just want to release the code for anybody. There's Unilicense, which is quite different because it's basically saying do whatever you want. And it releases the whole code to the public domain, which means that anybody can use it however they want. And also a nice thing about, maybe not that nice, depends on how you look at it, that anything that is over 70 years goes automatically into public domain. So I think there's not that much code that could have already gone to public domain, but I guess we'll get there. So keep that in mind. And if you really want to learn a little bit more about it, I really recommend this video. It's like 45 minutes long, but it's really nice, by Tom Scott. It will be in the links at the end. And if you don't really care about anything of it, you can use beerware. Beerware is a license where you say, okay, do whatever you want with it. If we ever meet, you'll buy me beer. And yeah, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Oh, there you are. Amazing. So what I found out is that I'm almost eligible to be released into the public domain. What's so funny about that? We've already discussed our code of conduct here. However, I thought it was a great presentation. And does anyone have any questions for Bartek? Here we go.
Hey, very interesting stuff. I have a question about Apache 2 versus MIT license. I've heard the difference between the two is basically that Apache 2 will prevent your code from being patented in the US, and if you release under MIT, it does not guarantee that someone would not be able to patent your code anyway. Is that true? Have you heard anything about this?
Good question.
It won't be a great answer because I don't know. So, so that's the answer. I didn't know.
It's not. I love it. I love it. You know, very rarely do I hear that answer amongst you. Yes. I don't know. I loved it. Next question, please. Yeah, he gets applause for that. I don't know. Thank you very much. Absolutely.
So in your research, have you encountered any cases when poorly chosen license caused some trouble?
So there was, I don't remember now what exactly was it. Was it React or something? There. Yeah. So there was this case where I think React changed its license for like a few days because, well, Facebook decided, well, let's change it. And then the whole community blew up and said that, oh no, we can't do that because half of the companies had strict rules about what licenses can you use. And like basically half of the companies couldn't use React anymore because it wasn't up to the spec of companies. So yeah, that kind of blew up in this way that like if you already have got a source code released and you've got a license in it, like then changing the license is super hard, especially if you change it to something custom, because I think Facebook also written the like custom license. So yeah, that kind of blew up into React, but well, it was Facebook, so they didn't get hurt that much.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for Bartek? You did have a QR code up there. Is that so that we can contact you with any other questions? Oh,
Yep,
Daniel.
sure.
Which license do you use for your own projects and why?
So probably in like 90% of them I use MIT because, as I said, like I really believe into like open source, but also I don't care that much about those things. Like if those are libraries that I'm happy for anybody to use it however they want. If I'm working on some projects that, for example, I put a lot of myself, like my time, and I really don't want to anybody benefit from too much. So last time I gave a talk about Zoom, which is an app for watching Formula 1 races, and I put like 6 months into it and really didn't want to release fully to the world, and that one is on GPL, also the strictest one. So yeah, that's the answer.
That's very interesting. I just spent a weekend with one of the guys who's the president of one of the Formula One teams, the Haas team. Very nice guy. He has a show. He has a show on Netflix called Drive to Survive or something. Has anyone ever heard of that?
Yes.
Gunther Steiner, exactly. Yes. Can you believe it? Yeah, I got a selfie and everything. I remember your presentation. Listen, I think it's great that we're doing a retrospective today. It seems like this is the theme, being the 9th anniversary. I'm just going to come over here with you for a second. Being the 9th anniversary of WarsawJS, I think it's nice that we take a look back and try to get some perspective on where we are. Oh, who are we? What are we? Where were we? What are we? And where are we going? This is a really important topic. As I understand it, the topic of intellectual property, beyond copyright and all of that, is going to be very contentious as we speak. Yes? We don't know. Is the world going to be, I mean, in other words, the whole structure, the whole economic, corporate, capital structure is in question. So again, know what you're doing, protect your clients, especially privacy. If you have NDAs, respect them, because everyone's feeling very nervous these days. And we thank you very much for giving us whatever. This is not advice. What can we call it? Recommendations?
Yeah,
whatever.
I would call it recommendations.
Whatever recommendations. Please give him a big hand, everybody. Bartek Legięć. Thank you very much.